Just waiting for a couple last people to come in. Get some numbers up here. I see we've got about half the people that registered to sign in, and they tend to start showing up here in momentarily. So I see Carrie started the recording. So folks, if you're not me, could you turn off your cameras just so that we have some little less distraction, a little more viewer space for everybody. So if you're not presenting, please turn off your camera. I believe there's one that still has it on. Other than that, let me move this off to the side here. I'm Eric Anderson. I'm SIMSA's Executive Director, and welcome to our another installment of how to use your SIMSA membership. We've done quite a few of these, and it's amazing how many people keep showing up, so we keep doing them. I am speaking today from Treaty 6 territory in beautiful Saskatoon, and it's a great day to be going on things. It's warmer than normal. One of the things when we talk about safety is that I've noticed if you've got marbly kind of floors in your office, or when you come in, you've got a floor mat. One thing we found out here at SIMSA fairly quickly was that our floor mat was a little too small. People came in and there was just that little half foot of marble or of tile, then the carpet, and then there's another little piece of tile. Well, that marble, those exposed spaces, is just enough for people to slip on. So make sure that your floor mat covers all of that. There's not that little slip zone on either side. I found it to be quite a thing for us. So what are we going to talk about today? It's a simple little agenda here. You know, who we are, our staff, some of the communications events. We're going to talk about some issues with RFPs, a little bit on supplier link, a little bit on our radio commentary, and a whole bunch of stuff on the database. I think if anything, it's the database that's most important, and how to use our staff people. And we're going to have them sign on in just a second here to go through that. So who is SIMSA? We were formed in 2013. We had our 10th year anniversary event just this past year. We were formed with the goal of helping more money stick to the province. I mean, what was happening is back in 2012 and 11 at the tail end of the big potash build out then, they were noticing a lot of stuff wasn't staying in the province. So a bunch of guys got together, the original 8, we created a video on that, by the way, and they kind of built SIMSA up and got it up and running. And then I was hired on as the first full-time executive director about 7 years ago. Carrie Beebe, who you're going to meet in a second, joined me a couple of weeks later, and then we've kept growing since. Our simple story is we help our members sell stuff. Everything we do is about either bringing the buyers and sellers, yourselves, together with the buyers, such as the BHPs or Nutrients or Federated, or the other piece of selling is maybe how to sell better, how to be a better business, and how to function better. So those are the two simple things we do. So you're going to see things like this. If we run an ad not very often, you'll see things like, you know, if you spend $1 with a Saskatchewan supplier, you get 4 times as much economic impact in the province if you had spent with an outside of the province supplier. You'll see that on our print stuff. You'll hear that in our radio commentary. You'll hear that on the SIMSA ads themselves. We had Pricewaterhouse do that study for us, and it's been a big thing. We enable the large companies to shop local is what we focus on by bringing them to make them easier to get a hold of you, making you more accessible with them, pulling things together, making our members a little better at filling out RFPs and such like to enable local spending. Now, how has SIMSA grown? If you look at our growth, and that goes back to 2014 up until today, 2024, that's the growth chart. Now, one thing I want you to notice about 2024, those starts on September 1st of each year. So since September 1st, we've added 20 people, 20 members to our association. That's a net gain, okay, of 20. We had a bunch of people sign up originally for BHP when that formally have announced. Some didn't get the work they were thinking that was going to fall in their laps, and they left the association. But we've grown a lot more. We're going to get into that piece about that database in a bit. But there's the growth chart. It's been fairly strong. I suspect the 2024 number over the next 9 months will go up a bit, and then you'll have you can pretty much draw a straight line, and things kind of work that way on the growth. simple thing about voting and board participation. We changed the bylaws last year so that both regular and open members can vote and be nominated for the board. The board can now have 9 regular member seats and 3 open member seats, and that process will begin shortly, I guess in a couple of months. We'll begin that system of bringing people on. We opened it for the open members simply because, the open members were 40% of the membership. And the other thing was there's a lot of brain power in the open members. So that's why we made that change. So the SIMSA staff, I'm Eric Anderson, the chief, the executive director and the chief cook and bottle washer is my official title, not quite, but that's what we operate. Carrie Beebe, the manager of operations, she takes care of all the day-to-day things that our association does. She drives all aspects of membership, including reviews of memberships and renewals and all the billings and all that kind of, sets up all the aspects of events. I'll just get Carrie to turn her camera on quick just so we can see her. There she is.
Hello.
You'll see her at the door of every one of our events. Anything you need to get done, it mostly falls on her. I create a lot of dust and disturbances, and she goes around and cleans up the mess. Is how it generally works. Anything else to add, or am I correct in that?
No, perfect.
You're good? Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, there we go. Now, in addition to Carrie, there's 2 other people on our staff you need to know. These are more to help you with doing things that are with your business directly. So think of Carrie to do the internal stuff, and then James, who you just came on the screen there, the James Bulmer, is the industrial concierge. His role is to help our members, you, with carbon reduction and energy efficiency kind of stuff, as well as digital innovations needed by the mining companies. And then he does all the special projects, surveys, and spending, and et cetera. James, you're going to say a few things here.
Thanks, Eric. So yeah, as Eric mentioned, there's two parts to my role. One is innovation, the other one is ESG, decarbonization. So if you ever want to connect members of the mining industry for innovation needs, you have any questions about what the mining industry wants or what funding is available for you to innovate, just please reach out. On that note, I'd like to plug Demo Day launch event on January 18th. Tickets are on sale right now on the website. There's a maximum, so get them in right away. There will be representatives from the mining industry there to talk about innovation and what sort of the needs they have for the future. It's a great place to meet the industry. I highly recommend you buy a ticket. The second part of my role is ESG and decarbonization. So as investor markets push the mining industry to a more sustainable future, the mining industry is then forced to look at their supply chains, obviously you guys, to meet the needs of the investors and the financial sectors to avoid any risk. So understanding the needs of your customers, the mines, will be very important going forward. So slow this down a bit. So for questions about how to create an ESG policy for those needs that the mining industry has, or how you can reduce your energy consumption, please reach out to me and I can help out. My one comment here is that it's better to do this, start now, do it organically, slowly over time before being hit by a stick
Yes.
in later years, right? As Eric always says, better to be in front of the parade versus under it. So just another little comment here. Financial markets are moving to, or have already moved to, regulate for this kind of disclosure. So it's looking like 2025 in Europe. So BHP or Rano K+S, I'm sure you're already hearing these rumblings of Integrity Next, ISNet, all these other things are starting to ask these sustainability questions. So, and then potentially US traded companies will follow suit as well, depending on what the SEC does. Therefore, they're going to start looking at their supply chains with respect to supplier carbon numbers and what sort of policies you have for sustainability, aka ESG. So just to summarize, more than happy to talk about either of those things. It's all free. It's a part of your membership. Thank you. Forward to hearing from you.
Thank you, James. And a lot of things later on, I'm going to get to our database. And James has created a whole series of carbon reduction, best practice documents and such. They're on our website, on the database site, kind of behind a paywall. So feel free to reach out to him. The Demo Day thing is an amazing event. Right now on our site, there's already listed the things that they are actually looking for, but you can also bring forward other things. If you're selected from the short list, once you make your submission, you basically are able to present to the purchasing persons and innovation persons of every major mining company all at once. You can do your whole year's sales in one event. It's kind of like a Dragon's Den kind of thing. It's a great thing to take part in. Another name new to SIMSA beginning, I guess it was mid-August this year, is Tom Kischuk, the nuclear specialist. I never knew that was a hard word to say, but it is today. Tom comes to us to handle things to help our members understand the nuclear opportunities and the decision processes. Prior to SIMSA, he was a VP at Federated Co-op, and prior to that, he was also the president and CEO of Mitsubishi Hitachi Power Systems Canada. We're blessed to have him with us to help our members figure out the nuclear sector, how to get involved. He also helping SIMSA work with government and others to develop policies and directions for nuclear initiatives to make sure we get as much of this spending and work to stick to Saskatchewan as possible. And at the same time, look at what's also available globally so that if we're going to do something here, let's make sure it's in step with the rest of the world so we can also magnify that opportunity. Tom, I'm going to say hello.
Thanks, Eric, and good afternoon, everybody. I'm really grateful to be part of the SIMSA team. Joined about 4 months ago, and it's been an interesting ride so far as things develop in the nuclear space. The rate at which things are advancing, we haven't seen before. So it's an exciting time to be part of this space. So as Eric said, I'm helping understand with the technology, the business opportunities for SIMSA members, the regulatory aspects, also helping understanding with the nuclear certification process and the procurement process. So I was previously part of the nuclear supply chain, the global nuclear supply chain in my days at Hitachi. So familiar with some of the processes that go on. So working on helping convert some highly technical information into information that can be understood by the members so that you can understand what the opportunities are going to be moving ahead and when those might happen. So I'm available to SIMSA members as part of your membership. So if you got questions about things nuclear, please reach out. Thanks.
Thank you, Tom. Great to have you on board. And once again, to get hold of Tom or James or Carrie or myself, if you go to SIMSA's website under contacts, you'll see our names. There's email addresses. There's the phone number there. Just shoot us a note and we'll get back to you as soon as we can, which is usually pretty quick. Now, moving along to SIMSA communications. We do some daily emails, and these are all geared to help you sell stuff. It's market information, event information, such like. For those emails, if you want any more than one person signed up to your company, you just send a note to Carrie, carriebeebe.simsa.ca. By the way, this deck will be available after. Carrie can add all kinds of names to our email list. It's no big deal. We can add some more, and if you've got people in your company that should be on it, well, then let's get them on it. And make sure we've got the right people though for business development versus accounting for renewals of invoices and such like too, because there are a couple of different lists. So maybe check with her on that, who you have in your company. I do not email members news items to our membership, but I will like and sometimes share these things on social media posts. If you want to put something in our newsletter, well, then you get that to me. For example, the newsletter's coming out. I think we're going to do it January 3rd rather than the 1st because that would just be a bit of a mess. January 3rd, so things are due by the end of this week. For example, we'll just post the link. You have to have the title though, and then a link to somewhere else online. We don't post your news item itself. We just post the title. People click on it, right? So you can see right there on that slide. There you go. There's some information. There's also the lunch and learn events. These are for SIMSA members only to present to our membership and non-members. Anybody can attend them, but only SIMSA members can use them. What happens is we'll work with you to develop a title for the event, some content, advertising, marketing pieces for it. We'll put it on our website. We email them to the members a couple of times. We'll share them on social media. You can do the same. We drive people to the event. It has a cost of $1,000 for you. We turn the event on. I do the introduction, opening, and I turn it over to yourselves. You present whatever it is you want to talk about, and then I'll help facilitate the Q&A on the back end. There's some information. There's a link there on how to do it. It's at our website again. And once again, this deck goes out to everybody afterwards. We do events. Some of them say members only, and members only means members only. You'll notice when you fill out your membership application form, the very top is membership is applicable to the above named company, not its subsidiaries, joint venture partners, suppliers, parent companies, etc. So, it can't go up, it can't go to some joint venture partner you have or some other group. I mean, they have to have their own memberships. And we're very militant about that. And as some of you bumping into that, it's a serious thing because we're trying to make sure these members only things are for our members and to provide the value to the members who have paid for their memberships. Our events now, that's why people have joined. When we lose members, the vast majority of the time I can see, we can look at their profile and see who attended what events. And I can tell you the ones we've lost and the ones that didn't go to any of the events. So go to the events. That's where a lot of our value is. They're in person, they're virtual. We'll have people from BHP or Nutrien or Federated recently in attendance. They get the attendance list. They know who's coming. You can talk to them directly. Half the time is usually set aside for networking. Find out what they want. Talk to the right people. Find out maybe whom else to talk to. We have annual events. There's the mining forum in April. The actual trade show sold out for that in 2 weeks. We'll be doing some work on expanding that a little bit for the people on the waiting list. Our AGM is in May. Our energy forum is in October in Regina. That just occurred. This year was kind of half nuclear and half oil and gas related things. Now, by the way, when you go to buy your event tickets from our website, sometimes it asks for your membership number. You don't need that. It's just a quirk of the system. So when that pops up, don't worry about it. We can help with RFPs and other issues. This is a bit tricky. For example, with BHP, if you feel like you should have received an RFP, but you didn't, call me, send me a note. We'll talk about it a bit. And then what happens is BHP is serious about this, especially for Janssen stuff. What will happen is you talk to me, I'll call them, and they usually reply to me within a couple of hours. And we usually are pretty successful getting that thing reissued. Now, the thing is you have to be on the database though, because you have to have done your part. You have to be on the database and have completed and checked off that you do the certain item. Now, I'm going to get to that in a bit, but there's something on you as well. They'll commit to work to contacting you, but you also have to commit to making it possible for them to contact you and find you. So that's how it works. We do not get involved in negotiations unless it's a very clear breach of conduct and protocols or something like that. We haven't had one of those yet, but we can make sure at least you're in the game or try to help with that. In payment collection, we've only been involved in one where it was a project that had a serious problem a few years ago, and we had a conversation with one of the companies to go, hey, how can we work this out? So there's things there. If you have any questions about how we can help you out, once again, give me a call. We can try and do what we can to help you out on these things. Supplier Link, some of you may or may not have heard of this. It's kind of another database system that's out there that SIMSA partnered with. It's a trade agreement compliant thing. It's better used it's getting used more for municipalities, RMs, cities, and the government of Saskatchewan's looking at rolling it out a little more as well. It's a way for them to do sourcing and find local suppliers and keep track of how much work their staff is doing. It's got a huge tracking event on the back end. So a manager of procurement for a city can see that his staff actually went out and asked for solicited the RFP to a bunch of companies and such like. SIMSA does the certified Saskatchewan supplier piece in there. So if you're a member of SIMSA, you automatically get that designation on Supplier Link, by the way. So once you've signed up for Supplier Link, you can transfer your SIMSA membership over there. There's a little switch there you can flip to do that. If you have any questions, let me know. Now, some of you may or may not have heard me. I'm on, was Gormley, now it's the Evan Bray Show every day, in Saskatoon and Regina, plus a few other times a day, 7 days a week. The daily commentary on Saskatchewan's mining, oil and gas sector, heavy industrial pieces, and our economy. I research, voice, and do everything all myself. There's also a website with all the archives there. This item is sponsored by the Government of Saskatchewan, Nutrien, and Cameco. It allows us to share the good news of this sector. The goal is it's more for the general public, is to have the public understand what it is the sector means to the economy and to the people of Saskatchewan. If you'll notice by the sponsor list, this is a fairly serious joint venture effort between industry, government, and SIMSA. It's to have the people to enable people to support the sector, to enable government programs to support the sector, thus us. So one of the things that we often talk about here is that if the mining companies get squeezed, we get crushed because they need to be economically feasible and viable and be prosperous. And if they're doing well, then they're a little looser generally on their procurement and on their spending, and they don't grind as much, and they actually have money to spend. So we need to make sure they do well. So it's good for everybody, and that's what that's based upon. Now, our member database. I'm going to share this in a minute, the screen and all that, but this is it's an important piece, and it's getting more important every day. It's called the Saskatchewan Supplier Database. It's a shortlisting tool for procurement's use. A storehouse of valuable information. So what it's built to do is it allows a company to go find a supplier in Saskatchewan that may or may not, that could provide what they're looking for, and then do some sorting, okay? How did it come about? Well, 6 years ago, BHP came to us and said, could you build something like this for us to use for Janssen? So, because BHP didn't have a database, they didn't have supply chain lists. Nutrien Mosaic been here for decades in one name or another, and had a huge supply chain already built up. BHP didn't. They showed up new to the game. And so what we had to do is build something for them to use. Now we started building it out, and then with assistance from Synovus, who was Husky at the time, and Graham and Mosaic and Nutrien and TC Energy, who was TransCanada Pipeline at that point, they helped us and build categories and such like so that it could get up and running. And now BHP, Hatch Bantrel, they call our database the primary source when shortlisting and finding suppliers. And it's very strong, and there's some links to those comments and things online. The key to the whole thing, though, is that you need to keep your data current, otherwise it's not of value. So everybody needs to keep their the data current, because by you keeping yours current, it also helps everybody else, because then the overall impression, no matter what people are looking for, is that the whole thing is current. So what happens is when you click on, you go to the site to get to it from our website, you click on a link that says database, and this is where you land. This is the screen. You'll see the sponsors' names. There's search members on the top right. There's a member login and a procurement login. Now, the search members on the top right is very high-level information. Somebody can do a search to see, hey, I need an engineering firm, and they'll get a bunch of names, but they don't get the detailed information that's also there for the procurement people, which is the shortlisting stuff. Things like, are you on ISNet or Ariba or whatever, right? The scale of projects you usually do, any First Nations partnership or ownership there may be, because the simple thing is, can you do the work? Is it in your wheelhouse? Is it too big or too small for you? And can they work with you on an ISNet, Ariba, such like, right? And then the First Nations partnerships and women ownership and some safety things are in there as well, but they're very high level. But it's just to bring some ideas to people so they get an idea who they're talking to. When you log in as for yourselves, this is the page you'll come to. We'll already filled in a little bit for you as part of your membership. The first thing you're going to notice is that at the very top article, there's a thing that says documents there. That's documents tab. We'll get to that in a bit. That's where all those items that James created in carbon reduction are located. And then below that, you'll see there's 5 or 6 categories there. You have to fill all of them in, and then you get a check mark once they're filled in. But please complete all those pieces. And you're going to see why this becomes important in a bit here. So procurement view, which I'm going to show you here in a second, they use this for shortlisting and locating suppliers by service, not by name. They look for a mechanical group, or they look for a stainless steel welder or something. They don't look, so they search services. Now, to get found, you need to have clicked that you do these certain services. I'm going to show that in a bit. So once you've paid your membership fee, you need to log in with the name and password that we supply. Complete your profile. Otherwise, BHP and otherwise will not know you exist. You need to do this work. It's critical. Now, Federated is using the database in the same way. There's about 60 some other companies that use it. So it's kind of a big deal. Part of that is the carbon calculators that James worked on are in there, in that drop down. You can plug in, you can calculate your carbon number. There's one for each of several years, because they're all slightly different because of the amount of CO2 in our energy grid changes. So there's a little calculator. It's actually really simple to complete. James can walk you through it. The carbon calculator's up in the database. It's basically an Excel workbook to calculate your scope 1 and 2 emissions. That's all they wanted. The major companies, they don't want your scope 3, which means the stuff that you're responsible for directly, not from the stuff that your product created or from the stuff that you used to create it. They want to know your consumption of gasoline and diesel, electricity, certain refrigerants, and certain, in the welding process, for example, certain gases you may have used that you consumed to make the product. We made that in conjunction with KPMG, with consultation with BHP Chemical, Nutrien, and TC Energy to make sure we had it right for what they wanted. It's free for you to download. The cool thing is, the very first sheet asks you where you're located. This is critical, because what happens is if you're located in Saskatchewan, it has a certain multiplier that applies to your electricity consumption based on the amount of carbon in our grid. So the balance of hydro, wind, solar, natural gas, coal, right? Now, other provinces, maybe they have a lot of hydro, maybe they have a lot of nuclear and less. So the neat thing, actually, if you really want to see something, is you complete it for here in Saskatchewan, switch it to your shop as now in Ontario, see what happens when you change the grid. Then you'll see why it's important that we're building nuclear reactors. You want to see that carbon number change. So the first thing we're going to do, we're going to start doing a database tour here. I'm going to stop sharing that, and I'm going to share something else. Give me a second here. Share window database. Okay. And I just realized something. I've got to share it differently. I selected to share the application when I actually need to share the screen. Stop sharing, because the pop-up windows, when you're using Teams, by the way, don't appear when you share just the window. There. Okay, now I'm sharing the screen. So here's what happens. A mining company, they come up to our database and they catch this, and they click on the procurement login button. They hit, they fill in their profile, and they sign in. And what happens? They have a list here. They can search. They can view profiles over here. They can scroll down and see all the member companies. Just look at the profile directly, or they can do a search. This is where things get interesting, and you'll see from this really quickly why it's important. You see how this works. You'll see why it's important you fill in everything in your database. So they'll look at this and say, you can click here right on if the global head office in Saskatchewan or not. See at the top there, I'm kind of clicking there left and right. Yeah. Global head office in Saskatchewan, yes or no. This is the key ping. Technical capabilities. This is that drop down list of things you need to click off that you do. Because what happens, they'll get here, they'll click on it, they can type in mechanical, right? And all of a sudden anything with mechanical appears. And they click on I want a general contractor, piping mechanical, right? And that's what they selected. And then they click view results. And bang, it comes up. So if you had not clicked that on your side, once we'll go with that, I'll show you in a minute, that you do these things, your name won't appear in this list of companies who do that work. And there's all the mechanical ones, right? Now they can go back, right? They can edit their search. and it's mechanical, and we want to make sure though that they are ARIBA registered. That's an important thing. And now they can view the results. So now anybody who's mechanical and they're registered on ARIBA, it could be the same list, it could be a little smaller, right? We'll go back again. So there's that. Now you can also say, well, let's do this. Let's go. So for Tom's work, we can also just search, are you interested in doing nuclear work? Yes or no, right? And we view the results. And there's all the companies that have selected that they're interested in doing nuclear. And I'm scrolling to that too fast for you to read for a reason, because sometimes some of the information here people don't want shared, but you get the idea, right? Now that interest in nuclear piece is important because what happens when we work with government or with nuclear power companies or with OPG in Ontario, whom we also help, they want to know, what's the supply chain looking like? How is it building here? Well, I've got a live dashboard here, or rather Tom does. We can tell them within seconds how many companies are interested in nuclear. We can also go who are working on working towards accreditation in nuclear or are accredited already. We can also tell them like what level of accreditation or type of accreditation they have. So that's pretty neat, right? Well, if we go back to the mechanical piece again, let's go back to that one. It seemed to be a nice one to do. Let's get rid of that. They can, over here, they can download the results onto a spreadsheet. They can say, well, I want mechanical and I want Indigenous owned or operated. Yes. So Indigenous owned or operated, people who do mechanical, structural, general contracting. There's the results. And then they can download the results here as a spreadsheet. They can get the levels of information they want. They can also, this may get a little weird, you can scroll down here and see there's all these tabs here. They can select which columns of that whole database they want in their report. So it's a very, very powerful tool for them. So let's log out. So as a member, so we're going to use a fictitious company. So when you click on your technical capabilities, so let me go back. I might have done that a little quick for you here. So technical capabilities, upper left, you have to complete that, right? So you click on it, and there's that database dropdown. Now you can select all the ones you've done, right? And you click them. Make sure you select all of them because that's how they search. Anything that you've done, right? And you have to remember to save, okay? Capacities, nuclear pieces, industrial relations, ownership things, all those things need to be completed, and you get a little check mark, and then you always have to remember to hit the save view. And then you can also, there's the public view, which you can click on, right, which is very low level of details, basically your contact information on what you do, right? And there's some photos there. Or there's a procurement view, which is all that stuff that you've completed, right? So you see how the form is complete now. There's capacities, ownership, export readiness, size of contracts you usually do, things in nuclear, and all that's here. So that is how that works. So let's stop sharing that. Now, I think that brings us to, I just want to double check everything. Yes, that brings us to the end of that portion. That's basically what I've got to show. Now, if there are any questions, anything you want to know at all, what you can do now is either just turn your microphone on and ask it, or put it in the chat, whatever you prefer. We can handle either one. If there aren't any questions, like I said, we'll be sending out the deck as well as a video. the audio recording of the event to our members or to people signed up, and we also put this on our website. Actually, this will be the updated version that ends up on our data member login page and such, like membership application pages and such, so people can find out more about the association. If there aren't any questions today, feel free once again to reach out to us at any time. And thank you so much for coming. It's such a wonderful thing to have all of you here and to learn about how to use your membership better. And I'm just kind of killing a bit of time here to make sure there's still nothing coming in. I see nothing. Okay. Well, thank you, folks. Have a great break, Merry Christmas, happy and safe New Year's, and we'll see you all in January when we basically get back to work here again, I believe on January 2nd. Thank you.